I disappeared on a Tuesday. Not in a dramatic way. No goodbye notes. No final phone calls. No emotional breakdown in front of anyone. I simply stopped answering messages, packed one suitcase, and left the life I had spent 20 years building. People think disappearing is about escape. But for me, it was about survival. Because the truth is I wasn't living anymore. I was performing. Every morning I woke up next to a woman who felt like a stranger. Every evening I returned to a house that felt like a hotel. Every conversation sounded rehearsed, predictable, empty. From the outside, my life looked perfect. A stable job. A respectable marriage. A comfortable home. No scandals. No chaos. But inside, I was quietly falling apart. I used to believe that time would fix things. That if I stayed long enough, tried hard enough, sacrificed enough, something would change. It didn't. Time didn't heal me. It hollowed me out. I don't remember the exact moment I realized I was already gone. Not physically but mentally. Emotionally. Spiritually. It was probably one of those evenings when we sat on opposite ends of the couch, both staring at our phones, pretending we were still connected. We weren't. We hadn't been for years. We never fought. We never screamed. We never broke things. We just faded. Silence replaced affection. Routine replaced passion. Comfort replaced love. And comfort, I learned, can be more dangerous than pain. Because pain forces you to act. Comfort teaches you to endure. I endured for too long. At work, I was efficient. Reliable. Invisible. My colleagues trusted me, but didn't know me. My boss respected me, but never saw me. My clients appreciated my results, not my existence. I was useful, not alive. Every day followed the same pattern. Coffee. Traffic. Meetings. Deadlines. Dinner. Sleep. Repeat. No dreams. No plans. No future, just maintenance. Sometimes I caught my reflection in office windows. A man in his 40s, well-dressed, tired eyes, quiet resignation in his posture. I looked like someone who had already accepted the end. And maybe I had. The strange thing is, nothing was wrong enough to justify leaving. No abuse. No betrayal. No disaster. Just a slow, silent erosion of meaning. That's what made it worse. How do you explain to people that you're drowning in a perfectly calm sea? How do you justify abandoning a life that looks successful on paper? So I didn't explain. I waited. And I planned. For months, I secretly prepared. Not with maps or dramatic fantasies, but with small, careful steps. A new bank account. A suitcase hidden in the garage. A resignation letter saved in drafts. A phone number memorized, not written. I told myself I was just being prepared. But I knew the truth. I was preparing to vanish. The final push came on an ordinary evening. We were having dinner. She talked about her day. I nodded. I smiled at the right moments. Then she asked me something simple, "Are you even happy anymore?" Her voice wasn't angry. It wasn't emotional. It was tired. I opened my mouth to answer and realized I had no idea. I couldn't say yes. I couldn't say no. I couldn't say anything honest without breaking everything. So I said the safest thing, "I'm fine." She looked at me for a long second. Then she nodded. And that was it. No argument. No tears. No resolution. Just two people accepting the lie. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and felt something I hadn't felt in years, fear. Not of losing my life, but of wasting what was left of it. I imagined myself 10 years later. Same house. Same job. Same conversations. Same emptiness. And suddenly, staying felt more terrifying than leaving. So I made a decision that scared me more than anything else I'd ever done. I chose myself. The next morning, I kissed her on the cheek, grabbed my bag, and said I had an early meeting. She didn't look suspicious. She didn't ask questions. She trusted the routine. That routine was my disguise. I drove past the office. Past familiar streets. Past the life I knew. At the train station, I bought a ticket to a coastal town I'd never visited. No reason. No connection. Just distance. When the train doors closed, I felt something strange in my chest. Relief. Not happiness. Not excitement. Relief. Like I had finally stopped holding my breath. As the city disappeared behind me, I didn't look back. Not because I didn't care. But because I cared too much to hesitate. I turned off my phone before the first tunnel. No notifications. No explanations. No chance to reconsider. For the first time in decades, I was truly alone. And I had no idea who I was without the roles I had played. The man on the train wasn't a husband. Wasn't he an employee? Wasn't he a provider? He was just a person. And that terrified me. The coastal town was quiet. Wind, salt, old buildings, empty streets. It felt like the edge of the world. I rented a small room above a closed cafe. No luxury. No distractions. Just silence. In that silence, everything I had buried came back. Regret. Guilt. Doubt. Loneliness. I missed things I thought I didn't care about. Morning coffee together. Shared jokes. Familiar routines. But I didn't miss the emptiness. Every night, I asked myself the same question: did I run away from my life? Or did I finally run toward it? The answer wasn't clear. Some days, I felt free. Other days, I felt like a coward. Freedom without direction can feel like falling. And I was still falling. One evening, while walking along the shore, I saw an old man sitting alone on a bench, staring at the ocean. He looked peaceful. Not happy peaceful. Something in his stillness drew me in. I sat beside him. We didn't speak for a long time. Then he said, quietly, most people don't realize they're lost until they've already lived most of their lives. I didn't ask how he knew. I just listened. Running away doesn't fix you, he continued. But staying broken doesn't either. I looked at the waves crashing into the rocks. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, I admitted. He smiled gently. Neither did I. But I learned something important. What? You can't restart time. But you can restart yourself. Those words stayed with me. Not like a promise. More like a challenge. Because restarting yourself means facing what you ran from. And I wasn't ready for that yet. I was still hiding. But hiding has an expiration date. And mine was approaching faster than I realized. The town didn't ask questions. That was its greatest gift and its quiet curse. People nodded when they saw me. They served me coffee. They rang up my groceries. They smiled politely. But no one wanted to know who I was. And for a while, I was grateful. I took a job at the harbor. Nothing complicated. Unloading crates, cleaning equipment, fixing nets. Simple work for simple days. My hands were sore. My back ached. But my mind was quieter than it had been in years. Physical exhaustion left no room for overthinking. At night, I returned to my small rented room and listened to the ocean. The waves felt like breathing. Steady. Endless. Indifferent. I started writing again. Not stories. Not letters. Just thoughts. Fragments of who I used to be. Questions I never asked. Regrets I never faced. Some nights I wrote about her. About how we met. How we laughed. How we dreamed. How slowly, without noticing, we stopped seeing each other. I didn't hate her. That was the problem. It would have been easier if I did. Instead, I carried something heavier responsibility. Because I wasn't escaping cruelty. I was escaping comfort. And comfort is a choice. Weeks passed. My phone stayed off. The silence became addictive. But silence also amplifies the voice inside your head. And mine wasn't kind. It reminded me of everything I had abandoned. A partner. A life. A promise. Some mornings I woke up feeling light. Other mornings I woke up feeling like a thief. Like I had stolen my own future. One evening, the harbor was unusually quiet. The sky burned orange as the sun disappeared into the sea. I sat on the pier with a beer in my hand and watched the water move. That's when she appeared. Her name was Elena. She lived in the town her entire life. Worked at the small bookstore near the square. Came to the harbor every evening to clear her head. We didn't flirt. We didn't pretend. We just talked. About nothing. About everything. She didn't ask where I came from. She didn't ask why I was alone. She just listened. And for the first time in years, I felt seen without being examined. We started meeting regularly. Coffee in the mornings. Walks by the shore. Quiet conversations at sunset. There was no pressure. No expectations. Just presence. And presence can feel dangerously close to hope. One night, as we sat on the beach, she asked me something unexpected. "Are you running from something," she said, "or towards something?" The question hit harder than any accusation. I stared at the sand. "I don't know," I admitted. She nodded, as if that answer was enough. "Most people don't," she said. "They just keep moving and hope it makes sense later." Her words stayed with me. Because hope without direction is still just drifting. And drifting was all I was doing. I wasn't building a new life. I was avoiding the old one. Elena made me feel human again. But she also made me feel guilty. Because connection requires honesty. And I wasn't honest. I had no past here. No story. No identity. Just a version of myself I invented to survive. One night, after too many drinks, she leaned closer and whispered, "You look like someone who is afraid of being known." She wasn't wrong. Because being known means being accountable. And accountability meant facing what I left behind. That night, I almost told her everything. But I didn't. Instead, I kissed her. Not because I wanted to lie. But because I wanted to forget. The kiss was soft. Careful. Human. And that scared me more than loneliness ever did. Because feelings create consequences. And consequences require choices. The next morning, I woke up with a familiar weight in my chest. Guilt. Not the loud kind. The quiet, persistent kind. The kind that doesn't shout. It waits. I avoided Elena for days. Told myself I needed space. But the truth was simpler, I didn't trust myself. Because I had already proven I could walk away. So what would stop me from doing it again? Then something unexpected happened. My phone buzzed. For the first time in months. I stared at the dark screen like it was a living thing. A message notification. No name. Just a number. My hands shook as I turned the phone on. One message. Just 3 words, "Are you alive?" Nothing else. No accusations. No anger. No demands. Just a question. I sat on the edge of my bed, Unable to breathe. The past had found me. Not through rage. Through concern. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't care. But because I didn't know how. How do you explain disappearing? How do you justify choosing yourself over shared history? How do you say I left without sounding selfish? The message stayed unanswered. But it changed everything. The illusion of escape shattered. Because you can leave a place. But you can't leave consequences. That night, I walked to the pier again. The ocean was restless. So was I. Elena joined me quietly. You're different tonight, she said. I didn't deny it. I think I'm starting to understand what I ran from, I said. And what's that? Myself. She didn't laugh. She didn't judge. She just sat closer. Running isn't the same as healing, she said. But neither is staying in pain. Her words felt like a mirror. I wasn't healed. I was paused. And paused lives eventually demand movement. That night, I told her a version of the truth. Not everything. But enough. I left someone behind, I said. I didn't know how to fix what we became. She looked at me carefully. And do you think disappearing fixed it? No. It didn't. It just delayed the question. The real dilemma wasn't whether I should go back. It was whether I was brave enough to face what I broke. Because starting over isn't about location. It's about responsibility. And responsibility doesn't disappear when you do. The sea kept crashing against the rocks. Relentless. Unforgiving. Just like time. And time was running out on my escape. The message stayed on my phone like an open wound. Are you alive? 3 simple words. No blame. No anger. No questions about where I was or why I left. Just concern. That hurt more than any accusation ever could. Because anger would have been easier to ignore. Concern demanded an answer. Days passed. I kept working at the harbor. Kept walking the same streets. Kept pretending nothing had changed. But inside, everything had. The past wasn't chasing me. It was waiting. Elena noticed. You're not here anymore, she said one evening as we watched the sun sink into the water. Your body is, but your mind is somewhere else. She was right. My thoughts were no longer in the present. They were in unfinished conversations. Unspoken apologies. Unanswered questions. I had escaped my life. But not my responsibility. That night, I sat alone in my room and turned the phone back on. More messages had arrived. Not many. Not dramatic. Just quiet attempts to reach someone who vanished. How are you? I hope you're safe. I don't know what I did wrong. That last one broke something in me. Because she didn't deserve confusion. She deserved truth. And truth doesn't disappear just because you're afraid of it. I wrote a response. Deleted it. Wrote another. Deleted that too. Every version sounded selfish. Every explanation felt incomplete. Finally, I typed something simple. I'm alive. I'm sorry. I stared at the screen for a long time before pressing send. When the message delivered, I felt something I hadn't felt since leaving. Fear. Not the fear of being found. The fear of being honest. Her reply came quickly. I just wanted to know you were okay. That was it. No demands. No guilt. No pressure. Just care. And somehow, that hurt the most. The next morning, I knew what I had to do. Not because I wanted to go back. But because I needed to stop running. Running doesn't erase damage. It only delays accountability. I told Elena the truth that evening. All of it. The marriage. The disappearance. The messages. The guilt. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she looked at me with sad, gentle eyes. You didn't come here to start a new life, she said. You came here to escape the old one. She wasn't accusing me. She was understanding me. And now she asked. I don't know, I admitted. But I can't keep pretending the past doesn't exist. She nodded. Then you're finally starting over, she said. Not in a new place. In a new way. I left the town 2 days later. Not in silence this time. I said goodbye. To the harbor. To the ocean. To Elena. We didn't promise anything. We didn't pretend this was a love story. It was a chapter. And some chapters aren't meant to continue. They're meant to teach. The train ride back felt different. Heavier. But also clearer. I wasn't returning to fix everything. I was returning to face it. When I arrived, the city looked exactly the same. Same streets. Same buildings. Same rhythm. But I wasn't the same person who had left. I knocked on the door of the life I abandoned. She opened it. We stood there in silence for a long moment. No anger. No drama. Just two people facing what they had avoided. I'm sorry, I said. Not for leaving. For disappearing. For choosing silence over honesty. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just nodded slowly. I didn't need you to stay, she said. I needed you to be real. We talked for hours. About what we lost. About what we ignored. About what we became. We didn't fix everything. Some things can't be fixed. But we understood them. And understanding is sometimes the only closure you get. I didn't move back in. I didn't pretend we could restart. We chose honesty over illusion. That was the real second chance. Not a new relationship. A new truth. I moved into a small apartment nearby. Found simpler work. Lived quieter days. No escape. No performance. Just presence. Some nights, I still think about the coastal town. The silence. The ocean. The version of myself who was brave enough to disappear. But I no longer want to vanish. Because disappearing doesn't make you free. It only makes you unseen. Real freedom isn't running away. It's staying and choosing differently. I didn't restart my life by changing locations. I restarted it by taking responsibility. For my choices. For my mistakes. For my truth. And that, more than escape, gave my life meaning again.